It began with a disappearance. On June 14, 1977, 19-year-old Marita Choquette vanished. She was Donald Miller's ex-girlfriend. The two had dated for several years, and though their breakup had been messy, no one suspected that Miller would harm her. But Marita never came home. Her body wouldn't be found for over a year. Just months later, 23-year-old Wendy Bush disappeared after leaving a friend's house. Then, 27-year-old Christine Stewart, another of Miller's ex-girlfriends, vanished after telling friends she was meeting with him. Her skeletal remains were eventually discovered near a rural road. And in January 1978, 30-year-old Marcia Witham, a woman Miller knew through his church, was found strangled in her own home, murdered with a scarf. Police were suspicious but had no hard evidence, until Miller made his fatal mistake. On August 14, 1978, Miller broke into the home of Lisa and Randy Gilbert, two siblings he knew from church. He attacked Lisa in her bedroom, brutally strangling her with a pantyhose. Randy, hearing her screams, burst in and fought Miller off. The attack failed, but it was enough. Miller was arrested that night. While Miller sat in jail, detectives dug deeper. Eventually, under pressure, Miller offered a chilling deal: he would lead authorities to the bodies of Marita Choquette, Wendy Bush, and Christine Stewart, if prosecutors would drop the murder charges and accept guilty pleas for manslaughter instead. In a move that remains controversial to this day, the plea deal was accepted. Miller led police to the skeletal remains of his victims, buried in wooded areas and rural ditches. In exchange, he received a sentence of 15 to 30 years for each of the 4 deaths, served concurrently. For the families, it felt like justice had been denied. There was no murder trial, no opportunity to hear the full truth, no real accounting for the evil he committed. He was sentenced not as a murderer, but as a man guilty of manslaughter. And because of that legal classification, Miller would be eligible for parole in just 20 years. Starting in 1997, Miller became eligible for parole, and the public outcry began. Every 5 years, victims' families, survivors like Lisa Gilbert, and community leaders rallied to keep him behind bars. At each hearing, the pain was relived. And at each hearing, the parole board denied his release. One board member in 2007 stated, "He poses a continuing threat to society. His crimes were cold, calculated, and depraved." Today, Donald Gene Miller remains incarcerated in Michigan. His current projected discharge date is 2031, but he will face the parole board again in the coming years. His name may not be as widely known as Bundy or Gacy, but for those in East Lansing, his crimes are unforgettable. He was the predator no one saw coming. The kind of killer who hides in plain sight. And for many, the scars he left behind will never heal. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes, it smiles from a church pulpit. Sometimes, it walks the halls of a university. And sometimes, it gets a second chance it never should have. This was the story of Donald Gene Miller, the youth pastor who killed. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out our other true crime videos at the link below.